Gutsy Women, and welcome to this beautiful Friday in the UK. And I don't know what time it is where you are, but I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I have the pleasure today to interview the lovely Rachel Isabella, and she's come to tell us a little bit about who she is, where she is, what she does, all of that kind of thing. So, Rachel, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, Dee. How about you?
Yes, it's a really nice day. It's always a good day. When we're breathing, it's always a good day.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it is.
So, Rachel, could you please tell people who you are, where you are, and what's the story behind what brought you to do what you're doing now to help other women in the
Yeah.
world?
So I'm an American expat living in Argentina for 19 years. So that's where I am. And what I am is I'm a lot of stuff, but I'm a quantum healer and medical intuitive. And so what that means is that I can scan a person's body to find where there are emotional blocks that are stuck in their body. And then with a clearing session with Reiki and crystals, I release those blocks. And the way I came to do it is I've always been a healer. I was a nurse before I became a life coach and then a Reiki healer. I think the idea of helping others however I can. You know, when you hear of like an emergency or something terrible happening, that instinct as a human of what can I do? How can I help? How can I provide? I think I've always had that. And it's manifested into this. So I see a lot of suffering. I see a lot of childhood wounds not being healed. I see a lot of anger and resentment being held on to instead of, allowing for forgiveness to happen. And I really love helping people be able to heal all of those things with the work that I do.
Mm. So, when you say medical intuitive, can you tell us a little bit more about what that actually means and what it looks like?
So it means different things for different people. I know medical intuitives that can actually see inside a body and see different organs. I don't do that. I look mainly for the emotional blocks. So I will connect with a person's permission. I will connect to their energetic field, and then I will feel for where there is good vibration happening and where there is a cold spot. So where there is a cold spot, it means that there is a lack of energy there. So the lack of cold spot, the cold spot tells me where I need to focus. And the chakras that we have and the organs that we have correspond to different emotional things. So for instance, if there's a cold spot over the lungs represent grief. So that would be someone holding on to grief. The liver is about anger and rage. So that's what that would be. The eyes are about something that you're willing to see or not see. The feet and the knees are about taking a step forward or being stuck somewhere in life. So everything corresponds to an emotional problem or something that has not been released. So I scan the body and I scan the chakras. And that gives me a pretty good idea as to where this particular person may be holding on to something that is harmful and that needs to be released.
Mm. That's interesting because you're right. I thought it was about seeing inside the body. So that's a really good clarification for me. And because
Yeah.
I did see something on, I don't know how true it was, but you know, when you see things on TV, you can't believe anything these days, what's on TV. But I saw something a long time ago on TV where there was a child, she was only about 14, and she could actually see inside people's bodies. And
Yeah.
she pinpointed things that they didn't even know. When they went to see their GP and got tested, she was correct. So that was fascinating to me.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's more of a physical thing. It's
yeah,
it's interesting how medical intuition shows up different for different people on, I guess, whether you are, I guess, clairsentient or clairvoyant. Those who are clairvoyant can see, those who are clairsentient can feel. So yeah, it is very interesting to see the different ways that it shows up for people that do this. Yeah.
so what was it that brought you to doing this as a mode of work? Because I don't know whether I would have, it would be something that I would automatically think of. Was there something that happened that that made you really want to do this as a mode of work?
It happened because I was doing it for family and friends for a while, both the medical intuition and the crystal Reiki healing.
Mhm.
And I did it for a woman who was on my YouTube show. I called to check up on her because I knew she was going to have back surgery and she said she was in a lot of pain. And I said, well, let me see if I can help with this. And after I did the clearing for her, she slept for about 36 hours, sent me a message when she woke up and said, this was amazing. I need to incorporate this in my coaching package. So that was when I realized, oh, I could offer this.
Mm.
So now I can work. I do see people on my own, but I also work with coaches or other kind of healers to add my service to what they already offer. So it happened because I offered it to a new friend that hadn't received it before, and she got super excited about it and wanted to offer it. That's how it happened.
Mm. So when people come to you for support, do they have to have a particular um, connection to the esoteric, if you like? Do they have to have a particular connection to, do they have to believe in the work? You know, people go to the doctors and believe that the tablets will help them, or they believe in, they have a faith, they have a religion or something like that,
Yeah,
where they believe something's going to work. Do
yeah.
people need that aspect of themselves for this to help them, to work with them?
So they do not need to believe in the medical intuitive part because that is just me reading someone's energy.
Mm.
They do need to believe in energetic healing in order to receive the Reiki. A
Mm.
person needs to be okay with receiving Reiki energy. I have offered Reiki energy before to people and they have said, no, no, no. For whatever reason, they
Mm.
don't believe it, they don't like it, they think that it comes from a bad place. Even if I were to not respect their wishes and send them Reiki, they wouldn't receive it. It would like bounce right off and go somewhere else, that particular energy. So there does have to be a a receiving, a willingness to receive, an openness to say, I may not believe in this, but I'm open to try. I've never heard of this before, but it sounds interesting. There does have to be a willingness and an openness to receive the healing.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's not a spirit, is it a spiritual healing then, in one aspect, would you say?
In one aspect, yes, because when you release the emotional block of what might have become a physical manifestation of your pain, I believe you get closer to spiritual development with these kinds of things. That when you clear emotional pain, I believe there is a spiritual development that happens, a becoming closer to it, whether it's your religion or just spirituality. I don't think you can go through something like this and experience your childhood wounds as things that have shown up in your body. Like I experienced my gallbladder having to be removed because of problems that I had, uh, yeah, with my past, with my father, and that anger and resentment, it showed up in my gallbladder. And I said, this is something that I need to forgive. I don't want to physically manifest any other problem in my body. And in that decision to heal yourself, there is absolutely a spiritual element that, yeah,
Mm.
that is there.
Mm. Because I was speaking to another lady yesterday when she was talking about the spiritual aspect, and I think there's a lot of people getting reconnected to spirit now, and how it's bringing people to natural modes of healing once again, away from
Yeah.
the traditional modes of healing, and how powerful
Yes.
people are finding it.
Yes, I think there are so many healing modalities that are interesting and amazing, like sound therapy and color therapy and Reiki and crystals and human design and all these things that are not just that are interesting to learn more about. Even if someone says this sounds weird, this sounds very woo-woo, whatever. Um, we have been trained to understand and believe in science, which is fantastic. I don't think there's anything wrong with incorporating these newer things, even though they're thousands of years old, a lot of these modalities.
Mm,
Uh, I think it's fantastic to combine both,
mm.
definitely.
So how do you work with the mind and the spirit then? Would you say the mind and the spirit for you are the same, or do you work in that area? I mean, for me, I we disappeared.
Oh, there you are.
We disappeared there. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you froze for a moment and then it was like
Just
over.
went off. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
So yeah, what I was
yeah.
saying is that
You were talking
that
about the mind. Yeah, the
yes,
mind and the
the
spirit.
mind and the
Yeah,
spirit, that because the reason I'm bringing this question up is because nobody can see the spirit, and nobody can locate the mind.
yeah,
If you have a map of the body, we can always, when you went to school, they would point you to the liver and the kidneys, and you'd be able to see it. Nobody could put
yeah,
an arrow on the picture and say, this is where the mind is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the mind is much more influenced by human things like ego and envy and all of these things that keep us from connecting to people and keep us maybe very into ourselves.
Mm.
And the spirit is much more pure. Um, I don't know if you can hear that. I'm sorry, the noise outside. Um, I think that let's put it this way. I've never done a body scan on someone and told them there's something happening here, here, and here. How does this resonate with you? And have them say, yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense. So
Mm.
they know it's just a confirmation. Like, who are you angry at? There's a lot around your liver. Or what conversation are you not having that you know you need to have? They immediately say, I know exactly what you're talking about, which means that they are ruminating about these things in their mind and they are not focusing so much on the spirit, which would tell them, if they were to listen to spirit, release this, heal it, forgive, move on, accept, let go.
Mm.
So there is I think once people start stepping away from the mind and leaning more into the spirit, it's easier to forgive. It's easier to connect to the other side. It's easier um, to dive into spiritual development and personal development. Yeah, I think the mind is usually going to work against you
Mm. It
and the
can do,
spirit
can't.
for you.
Yes, it can. I notice that quite often, how the mind, I think we humans tend to think the mind is the kind of the ruler, if you like, of how we do things.
Yeah.
We think a thought and then we follow it. However, the mind
Yes.
is merely a guide. We don't necessarily need to follow the thought that's going on in the mind. We can actually go, actually, I can discern whether that's worth following or not, and then decide not to if it's going to take us
Yeah.
somewhere that we don't want to be. So, and it's a big thing to actually get over sometimes, when we think that the mind is everything, and we need to listen to what your mind is telling you. But you're right. I think there's a lot of truth in what you're saying around how, if we trust in the spiritual side, then
Mhm.
it is more pure, because it's coming from that place of heart, isn't it?
Yes, and learning to recognize your ego, identify it and say, okay, this is my ego showing up. This means that I'm afraid of something. The
Mm.
ego's fine. It keeps you alive. It's not like this bad thing.
Yes.
But learning to recognize it and when it's stopping you from doing something because it keeps you safe. You want to really do something, and the ego's like, well, that's scary, and it keeps you from moving forward, from taking a step, and it keeps you stuck in a way, learning to recognize when that is happening in your mind is fantastic
Mm,
because you can say, it's okay, I'm in charge. You can calm down now and allow spirit to take over and allow love and trust to take over.
mm,
Yeah, one of the best things you can do in terms of personal development is learn to identify your ego and make friends with it and know when to let it come out and save your life and when to tell it, it's okay, you don't need to show up right now. I know what I'm doing.
mm.
Yeah.
Yes. And so when you do the work, do you ever, what does it lead on to as far as the the the, the pain that people might have, the physical pains that people might have? Do you refer on to somebody else for that side of it, or do you actually help them with, food, supplements, all of that kind of thing to help
So
practically?
yeah, so after I do the Reiki healing session, I do schedule 2 sessions where I teach metaphysical techniques
Mm-hmm.
to lock in the healing that just happened instead of just sending them on their way. Because I
Mm.
do want to kind of close everything out.
Yeah.
So I do include that. I don't refer anyone out because the the results are very different in the sense that because everyone is unique, the maybe someone knows for years that they've needed to go to therapy and they just really hate the idea.
Yeah.
And after the healing session, that emotional block was cleared and they say, you know what? I'm ready. I'm going to do this. Or someone has been terrified of having a conversation with their mother. And after the healing session, they said, oh, that's easy. I can do that. That's not scary anymore.
Mm.
So because everyone's problem or reason for coming to me is different, what they get out of it and when they come onto the other side will be different in terms of what they look for. They might look for a life coach. They might look for a religious organization. They might look for having a conversation that needed to be had. So yeah, I don't refer because it's very unique to each individual,
Mm.
and they will find the way to where they need to be.
Mm. So what I'm hearing is that most people come to you for the psychological and spiritual aspects of how they're feeling, rather than an actual physical symptoms of gallbladder pain or liver pain or all of that kind of stuff.
It can be both.
Yeah.
I can find the emotional block before the physical manifestation has occurred,
Right.
or they might come to me with some kind of pain. It all depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just uh, confirming for them what they probably already know about their body and telling them what that means. So it isn't just that you have this pain, it's that this pain is related to a memory, a wound, whatever happened.
Yeah.
And then the healing session and the metaphysical techniques are the catalyst. It's the big shove forward that someone needs on their healing journey. And then after that, they can look for their own. They can create their own.
Mm. That's, I mean, I do follow exactly what you're saying, because I feel the same with the work that I do. And so I totally understand and get that. For people that have never done Reiki before, or they've never done crystal therapy before, it's interesting to hear how you actually work with those processes, do you call them, or I
Yeah,
don't,
modalities,
yeah,
healing modalities.
modalities,
Yeah.
yeah, processes, modalities, yeah. And so can you give us an example of somebody that had a real powerful healing from yourself, an incident where you something just sticks out in your memory, one of the things that you think that was a really, yeah, that was one of the most powerful testimonies I've had?
Yeah. Probably the one of my friend who could not sleep after back surgery and then slept for 36 hours. That was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not related to an emotional, that was not related to anything emotional. That was just her needing physical help.
Mm.
That was amazing. There was one, it wasn't a healing, but a friend of mine that is very spiritual, and I was practicing on her. I felt everything was vibrating really well because she keeps herself very well aligned and everything, all of her chakras. When I get to her sacral chakra, which is where the reproductive organs are, there's a complete cold spot. And then the legs and the feet and everything was fine. So everything was fantastic except for this part. And so I said, okay, so you're perfectly aligned except for the sacral. And she said, yeah, I recently had a hysterectomy. So there was literally nothing there to feel for.
Mm.
That was amazing. Yeah, I think that I do have testimonials on my landing page. I can't think of there's a lot. I did one for a dog that was going into a procedure, and this is an old dog. And then it was a procedure that was kind of dicey because they had to control their blood pressure every like 2 minutes while it was going on.
Mm.
And they were kind of scared because he's old and that might influence, how he receives the treatment or the procedure. And he did great. And when it was over, the vet said, I've never seen an old dog respond so well to this. And it's because I had done a crystal Reiki healing for the dog and surrounded them in, green healing light and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a few that are very special.
It all sounds miraculous, but we know it's not. It's not
It's
miraculous.
it's
It's energy. It's basically energy, and energy is just so
mhm.
powerful. But we haven't really tapped into that level of healing because we've
It's
been
universal energy that
yeah.
people are not yet uh, a lot of people still struggle to believe.
Mm,
And I kind of understand it. I'll have people, for instance, that believe if I do Reiki in front of them, like on their body, they believe it. But if I
mm,
say to someone long distance, I'm going to send you healing, then they'll say thank you and they're appreciative, but I know they don't believe it because
mm.
it's just a little too far out there.
Yes.
Um, I would encourage anyone
Mm-hmm.
to try.
Mm.
I think that if you've tried other things and they haven't worked,
Yeah.
yeah, try this. Try others. Try other healing modalities.
Mm.
Uh, what is right for someone else, what is right for your loved one that keeps saying, oh, you need to try this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's not right for you. Maybe you need to find something else. And there's so many great things to try.
There is
Yeah.
definitely.
Hmm.
Rachel, it's been fascinating listening to you and finding out a little bit more about what you do to help people to heal from all kinds of things, their thoughts and past wounds and all of that. It's been really lovely speaking to you again. And so
Yeah.
I'd just like to say to anybody that's resonated with what you've got to say, who's listening to this, to please get in touch with you and
Yeah.
for you to have a chat with them and find out a little bit more about what you do and how you can help them.
I
So
would love that. Thank you so
thanks.
much, Dee.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I will end the live stream now and
Okay.
do this. Thank you.